So moving on to the next question. What is your favorite part about making music? Great question. I don't know if I could pin it down to just one part specifically, but I'd have to say just the entire process, from writing the lyrics to deciding what beat you're going to use to trying to figure out what message or what you're going to say with the song. Even if it's just a party record, right, or whatever, like that's still something that you're trying to convey. But for me, my favorite part about making music is just that it's the entire process of making music. Also, for me, it's the challenge. It's that process of figuring out how am I going to take this idea that's in my head and turn it into something that now exists in the world. And it is not at least for me personally, it's a very tedious process. It doesn't happen in just 5 minutes. It's the whole challenge of choosing a beat, what you're gonna say, and then coming up with how you're going to say it, and then playing the beat over and over and over 30 times till you get sick of it, and then still trying to maintain a level of enthusiasm and staying engaged and excited about writing the record. My favorite part is that it's a release for me. It's a great mental exercise. It's therapeutic. It's that form of self-expression. It helps me sort of not lose my mind and get across just things that I'm passionate about, or something that I want to comment on, or just trying to figure out universal concepts that everyone can relate to, but maybe put it in words in a way that maybe other people feel, but maybe if given the opportunity, they might not be able to convey it as articulately or as vivid or precise. So for me, the challenge of trying to do that, and again, just the whole process of, okay, well, obviously every song has verses and a hook, but maybe should this song have a bridge? Should it have an intro or an outro? Do I put the hook at the beginning of the song? Do I start it with a verse? How am I going to put this song together? I love that entire process of from beginning to end is my favorite part, is just the entire process of making music. So great question. Thank you for asking. All right, on to the next question. What are your goals with making music and goals in life in general? That is a great question. Thank you. Well, to start with, as far as goals with making music goes, my main goal since I started making music and deciding that is what I wanted to take seriously in life has always just been able to do that for a living, to be able to just do that full time as a career, as a job, as a way of providing for myself and paying the bills and putting food in the fridge. It has always just been to do that with my passion of making music and as a writer. Also, the opportunities that comes with being a great artist or entertainer or musician, all the possibilities and the opportunities that come with it. And for me, I would love to travel the world, travel the country, and I see music, obviously that being something that I love, but seeing it as also a way of doing that. That's another goal of mine, is to be able to just travel and see the world and bring my music to other people live in person is a goal for me as well. And then also, ideally, depending on how far you can take your music, I would love to work with some of my favorite artists and to be able to just sit in a room with them and create and write with them. That's another goal of mine, as well as, again, going back to my love for film. I would love to score a film someday, or even just do music for the soundtrack of a movie. A lot of my favorite music has come from movie soundtracks. Also, I'm just a huge nerd when it comes to composing music. Not only do I listen to genre music like rap and rock and reggae or country or whatever, but I'm also a huge fan of film scores. So I love listening to composers like John Williams and Hans Zimmer, just great composers. And I've always been such a fan of like classical music, like Bach and Tchaikovsky and Beethoven and stuff like that. So I would love to throw my hand in working with filmmakers and creating music for a film or a movie. Even if it was just a song or just having my music in the trailer for a movie, that would be amazing. I would love to do that. But specifically, I would love to be able to learn how to score a film. Like some of my favorite film scores were done by musicians that started out purely just doing genre music. Like Jonathan Davis when he scored Queen of the Damned, or when Pharrell does the Despicable Me movies, or so on and so forth. I would love to do that someday. And again, as far as the second part of that question goes, goals in life in general, again, it might sound kind of cliche or cheesy or whatever, but for me personally, it's just to be able to say that I live, or I've lived my life sort of on my own terms in whatever sense, no matter how minuscule or grand. I would like to, in old age, if I'm fortunate enough to live a long life, I would love more than anything to at least be able to look back in life and say, hey, well, you know what? I lived sort of, in the words of Frank Sinatra, I did it my way. To be able to just say like, oh, wow, I didn't compromise my integrity, or, when you're sort of met with that fork in the road of, oh, am I gonna keep struggling but doing things my way, that make me happy or that I'm passionate about, or am I going to sort of compromise and go the other route of like, well, I really don't want to do this at all. This doesn't make me happy, but I have to do it because of X, Y, and Z or whatever. I've always kind of been the type to be like, I'll take the more off-beaten path. And it's not always a pretty road. Sometimes you question it a lot, but there are points where you get that validation of, what, I believe I'm doing the right thing, living by my own sort of dancing to the beat of your own drum, as they say. So that's like my main goal in life, is just, again, just remaining true to yourself, as they say. But great question. Thank you. All right, so on to the next question. What is your process for creating hooks that resonate with your audience, but keeping them memorable and distinct? Well, that is a great question. Thank you for asking. Well, for me personally, it always goes back to not compromising my integrity as an artist, remaining true to basically setting boundaries. I know there's a difference between sort of getting out of your comfort zone and doing something that you might not love doing, but it helps you grow as an artist to do. But there's a difference when it's just totally not what you want to do at all, but you're going to do it anyway just to appease some fan base or some demographic, or to try and gain fans or whatever. But your being isn't in it, your soul and your passion isn't there. So that has to be my number one thing, is it has to be something that I stand behind, that I'm proud of, that I can look back after I've released the record and be like, okay, you know what, I'm glad that I stuck to my guns with that decision or that choice, and I'm happy with it. I can live with that. But also, it has to just be something that, do I want to hear? You have to sometimes be able to remove yourself from the creator and the artist side and try to put yourself in the perspective of a fan. Just being a fan of music, is it going to be a hook or a chorus or something that I would enjoy listening to? If this song came on and it was done by somebody else, is it going to make me want to skip the song, or am I going to, does it make me kind of bob my head, or does it at least keep me engaged? Does it keep me interested? Does it make me think? Does it make me feel something? Or does it just make me have have fun? Does it keep me entertained? Those are all valid things that I try to keep in mind when I'm trying to write my own hooks and choruses. Again, just being obsessed with music. I try to study all of my favorite artists, and I also just try to study, you know, musicians and artists that I don't really listen to, but I'll hear their songs that are super popular, and I try to study them. Like, okay, well, what is it about this song or this part of the hook or this chant or this repeating phrase? What is it that makes it so catchy and makes it so, you know, appealing to people? So I'm always kind of taking notes, and I'm always kind of analyzing things from like a psychological standpoint. But I do try to study my favorite artists a lot, you know, sort of going back to the question, which artists inspire me. I'm constantly listening to either, you know, the greatest artists that we've ever seen, but also just my favorite artists that I resonate with on a personal level. You know, what hooks or what choruses stick in my ear and that I just catch myself singing, you know, if I'm just in the kitchen making a sandwich or something, you know. So I always try to keep that in mind, and I'm always trying to study the anatomy of a chorus and a hook and a bridge. That's why, again, one of my favorite artists is 50 Cent, because you can listen to one 50 Cent song and he'll have like 5 or 6 different melodies and hooks and things that you can sing along to and are memorable. So I always try to keep that in mind when I'm writing a song. When it comes to the hook, I might get to a point in the verse where, oh man, I really don't know what else to say, or oh, I'm struggling with, you know, coming up with where I want to take this verse. I always look at that as an opportunity of, oh, well, what if I sang right here? You know, what if I do like a little bridge right here and go into the chorus? Or what if I repeat something from the first verse if I'm, you know, writing the second verse and I'm having trouble with that? I'm always looking for sections in the song that might, you know, be a bonus, like a little sort of like a secondhand chorus or a hook. Also, I'm always thinking about some of the greatest hooks and choruses are gonna be things that we all just can sing in our day-to-day lives when that song isn't even playing, you know, when there's no music that's even on in the room. We've all done this where we just start singing the hook or a chorus to one of our favorite songs. And then not only that, but when you're able to, when that hook or that chorus is able to live a life of its own outside of that song, outside of when the music is being played, and it turns into sort of like a chant or a mantra or like a motto or something like that, when you can literally apply it to like everyday, just normal life, that's when you know you have a great hook. So that is a great question. Thank you. All right, so moving on to the next question. What is your biggest motivation in life? Well, I'd say I have a few, actually. One is people I care about, family, friends, people that I am closest with. I think as an artist, when you start to think about the possibilities again and the potential and opportunities that you can get from making a living off of music, for me, I always think about people that I care about, and oh, you know, you sort of fantasize of, oh, well, you know, when I become a super successful artist or musician or entertainer and I'm, you know, financially well off, you know, the friends and the family that you want to help out with if they're going through something, or you know, whatever the case may be. It could be something like that. But again, that's also in itself a motivation, is for me, is the possibilities and the opportunities that just being an established or a successful artist or musician can lead to. You know, again, for me, like, you know, it could be transitioning into doing music for films. It could be maybe partnering up with, you know, a clothing line, or it could be just collaborating with other artists that I'm a fan of that I've always wanted to meet or work with. Again, like I said, just the potential and possibilities that are outside of being a musician that making music can lead to. You know, being an entrepreneur or just other endeavors you might want to pursue that you may have never been able to pursue if music hadn't led you to pursue those things in life, if that makes sense. And again, just as far as motivation in life is just the love for the art itself. There's so many times, again, where I might be going through something, or you second guess, or you kind of doubt, like, oh, why am I doing this, or whatever. I always go back to, well, because I love to do it, like, would I be doing this either way if I never made a dime from it, if I never got to perform for people, or if I never was able to travel and tour, or, put CDs out or whatever. It always goes back to, well, I just love to do it, no matter what. Literally, music doesn't ever leave my brain. More times it's harder to not think about making music than it is to actually think about making music, if that makes sense. So, great question. Thank you for asking. All right, on to our next question. Favorite superhero? Great question. Again, that's another one that's hard to just pick one or narrow down to just one or two. But again, if I absolutely had to, gun to my head, I'd probably pick Spider-Man. Spider-Man, ever since I was a kid, has always been, it was always Spider-Man and Batman were always my two favorite superheroes. But Spider-Man more than Batman for sure. I've always been a big Marvel fan more than DC or any other kind of comic book company. As far as Marvel goes, my favorites have always been Iron Man, Wolverine, even Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider is probably another one of my all-time favorite superheroes that I'd put up there with Spider-Man and Batman. But as far as DC goes, it'd probably be Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Flash, and actually Jason Momoa made Aquaman seem pretty cool and pretty badass. So, but yeah, there's a ton. It's hard for me to just pick one, but if I had to, it's Spider-Man all day. Oh, and the Punisher. Punisher's good too. But yeah, for sure Spider-Man. So great question. Thank you. All right, so moving on to the next question. What is the current song you have on repeat? Great question. Off the top of my head, I'd probably have to say Fuel by Eminem off the Death of Slim Shady album. That and my song Sometimes I Drive Fast. So if you guys haven't checked it out already, go listen to it. Hit the like button, all that good stuff. Run the numbers up like crazy. That's one of my favorite songs I've ever recorded, written, released. I listen to that a lot actually, so super proud of that record. So yeah, I'm always just listening to that record if I'm just out driving around. So thank you, great question. All right, and our next question we have is, where do you see yourself in 4 years? Great question. Well, if I stay consistent and I'm continue to put 110% into my music and my craft and making this my priority, in 4 years I could see myself again making this a full-time career and making a living off of it. That's what I want to do more than anything. Touring the world, the country, being financially well off, all from music, all from just doing something that I love and that I'm passionate about. And in 4 years, I mean, you never know. Eventually I do want to settle down and start a family and, see what it'd be like to sort of raise a family in the lifestyle of an artist or a musician that travels, and what that's like, and having to adjust and compromise and sacrifice. You hear about the challenges musicians face with that lifestyle a lot, but this being something that I want to do wholeheartedly, that's kind of what I'm prepared to find out. So that's kind of where I see myself in 4 years. So great question. Thank you for asking. What's up, guys? If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications, and stay tuned for the next one. Peace.